G'day everybody, Roscoe here and welcome back to another episode of the My Love of Golf podcast. Today's guest is Mike Orloff. Mike Orloff is the principal at golfindustrycentral.com.au. Golf Industry Central is an industry resource. It's an industry website, blog, forum. Basically, it is a place to go if you are looking for information on current topics, current trends, current information if you're working within the golf industry. Now, whether you're a golfer or in the golf industry, understanding the golf industry is usually a pretty interesting topic to golfers per se. Whether you're a club member, whether you're a board director, you probably come across Mike at somewhere in your golf web surfing. Mike recently wrote an article which appeared in the PGA Golfers magazine on attracting and how to market to millennials. It's a really key area on Clubland, on how to grow their offer and how to grow their appeal to attract new players to the game and attract new players to their business. So I was quite keen to speak to Mike and find out more about his thoughts on this topic because it's important to me, but also about a whole wide range of topics within the golf industry and how Golf Industry Central serves the industry as a resource. Look up Mike at www.golfindustrycentral.com.au, like the episode, send Mike a message, leave me a review, join the Instagram page, and just join the journey. I really appreciate you listening in. Thanks for all of the feedback and support. Enjoy this episode with Mike Orloff. Mike Orloff from Golf Industry Central. Welcome to the My Love of Golf podcast. How are you, sir?
Yep, doing well, Ross. Thanks for the invitation.
No problems at all. It's something I've been thinking about for a little while, and with the podcast, I usually try and either have something that's entertainment or something that's information, and I think my listeners value both. And today, I think, Mike, you're going to be able to help me with a little bit of information about your world and your role in the golf industry. And I'm quite keen to pick your brains about, as someone who's in the golf industry myself, what your thoughts are, on this great game that we have, this great industry that we have, and some of the things that is happening, some of the things that that are in your sphere, and I guess a bit of a chat about what we think might the game look like and the industry look like moving forward. So, but before we get into that, tell us a little bit about yourself, Mike. I'm quite keen to, we haven't actually ever met before, but I certainly get your newsletters and I'm very aware of the great work that you do in the industry. So tell us a little bit about yourself because I get a bit of an accent there too.
Oh, it's still there. I can't get rid of it. I've been here 20 years now, which is crazy that things have gone that quickly. Originally from Los Angeles, California. Want to be a golf professional, so got a job at a golf course so I can get free golf and free range balls and everything else. As a 20-year-old, just as I was learning my trade and working in the industry, I worked with the big management company, the biggest at the time, had 330 golf properties under the banners. If you think of a big hotel chain, you had the best of the best, and you learn from all aspects of the operation of all types of facilities, from what I call 2-star to 5-star. And instead of getting into playing professional golf, I ended up getting into a career and worked my way up the ladder. And in 2000, I was offered a role to come run 2 of the golf resorts on the Gold Coast. So I came over in July of 2000 and started my foray outside of the USA. Never really been overseas like this. Few months in, met my now wife, worked here for about 1.5 years and got sent back to the US just due to some downturns happening with the company. A couple of years later, I ended up staying with her and keeping in contact with her, and now got married, kids, white picket fence and debt and all that stuff. Fast forwarding, came back a few years later and worked with and ran Lakeland's golf club on the Gold Coast, which is a Jack Nicklaus design facility. It's a real high-end membership product, anywhere from $4,000 to $8,000 a year to be a member, and $25,000 plus to join at that time. And that company left Australia as well, as the first one did, and it just sort of left me wondering what my next steps were and what my next big challenge. I did my PGA traineeship in the US in just under 3 years, which was usually a 4-year program there. I did it in 3 years, fast tracked it through, became a general manager, did all my goals. So I've been very goal oriented. So set a few big goals like that and knocked those out pretty quickly. And then I found myself unemployed again, and I go, well, what do I want to do? And I just spent probably 6 months trying to come up with, a business model and some ideas of what was needed in the market and what I had learned from overseas and working for big, commercially focused, commercially minded management companies, which is very different than the business models we have here typically. And Golf Industry Central came about. And that's been 13 years now.
So 12 years at the helm of your own. How do we frame Golf Industry Central? It's a consulting company.
Well, it's been interesting. It's sort of a double-edged sword. It's been very positive because it's built some personal profile for me as a consultant.
Yeah.
But Golf Industry Central, as its own platform, really is a news and information resource for the industry. And not just for Australia. The stuff I learned with working for a big management company was that, we used to share best practice. We used to share the successes from each other within that group of 300 facilities. And that was something at the time, 12, 14 years ago, we had a lot of silos within our industry where, the PGA and GA and all the bodies didn't really work together as close as they should. So hence Golf Industry Central was a place to bring information together that you normally wouldn't find anywhere else. That, I felt was a value hopefully to somebody in the industry here for the ones that were seeking it out. So that's sort of the early days of it. And it was always going to grow organically. I just knew there was an opportunity there to do it. And as that journey was going with Golf Industry Central sort of coming to fruition for whatever it was going to represent. And there's been a lot of changes over the years. It's built my profile in the industry. A lot of what I do is in the marketing space and a lot in recruitment. So it's sort of a blend of stuff that I enjoy doing. The marketing stuff I just have a fun time with, especially when there's a facility that actually wants to engage and make some changes. So I'm very operationally focused, PGA member, but then very much an operational minded person running all these different facilities for all those years.
Just on your PGA membership, it's an interesting thing for me to come back to because I'm not a PGA member, and I had that opportunity to go down that path as a kid, growing up in the Hunter Valley, and didn't take that opportunity up because I wanted to stay at school and thought it was something that I could always come back to, and never did because I started riding motorcycles and moved from Cessnock to Sydney and so on and so on and so on. And and basically, for all intents, gave up golf. But how much value do you put on being a PGA professional and being someone within the industry at a management level? Do you put on that level of credibility?
Yeah. My first goal from when I took up the game to become a golf pro was to become a PGA member. That was my number one goal. And I focused all my time on at that 3 or 4 years of that to get ready for it from a playing standpoint and from a the knowledge standpoint. And then I got that sort of on. I still wear it with pride. It's not as probably as relevant for what I do now. It does create or add credibility for my personal branding and where I've come from. So people do relate from it that you're a PGA member, and that there's certain things that we've learned as PGA members that that other people out there may not have. The PGA program here has come forward a lot from 12, 15, 20 years ago when I first came here. Same with the other national bodies. They've moved forward leaps and bounds from 20 years ago, even 15 years ago. And that was my big frustration when I started Golf Industry Central. It was just everything was very siloed and very separate, and nobody was talking to each other. And they weren't working together very much. And if you fast forward to now, we do see a lot of the bodies are working a lot closer together. So the cultures have changed, and we have a GMA model that's going toward a one association of golf managers. Golf Australia is moving that way. The PGA has always sort of been that way. It's more of a members organization, so they look at things differently than because it's about their members. It's a little bit different than some of the other associations. And the superintendents have done a fantastic job in pulling all their resources together, which has been a huge benefit. And that's the models that I'm more familiar with when I used to work for the management companies.
Yeah,
like I said, we if we have a question, we can call somebody, and there'll be some help there. Someone's had the problem, or someone has the knowledge. So the PGA brand is growing and getting better here, because they are now focusing more on the business side than what they used to in the past. It used to be more about playing and being pro shoppers. And we've seen a lot of PGA members now in the last 5 years have become, really good general managers at big facilities. 5-10 years ago, that wasn't happening. We just didn't have the skill set there or the pathway.
I guess, and we're sort of off on a little tangent already, but that's okay because it's relevant. And that was exactly my thoughts, because I've looked into the PGA structure and how one would become a PGA member now, because I'm surrounded by young people who have aspirations for being a professional golfer. Usually it starts, they want to play and earn money, and then they might want to do a traineeship. And when I have those guys working for me, and I try and give them some coaching and advice and just general life sort of stuff, as you do when you get a bit older, I had to look into that, and I could definitely see that the PGA now have those learning models, the business part of what they offer as part of the coaching the qualification is certainly attuned to helping the guys learn about course general management of the club and so on and so forth. So it's not just about playing and coaching, which is great. But what I'm going is, what do you think that the legitimate opportunities are for these young people that I end up being surrounded by? And in my industry, in the retail side of golf, if you don't make it as a pro, you tend to gravitate towards, and you still want to be in golf, you tend to gravitate towards somewhere like my business. Where do you think the opportunities lie for young people who want to become or have aspirations of becoming a golf pro now? Is it changing? Is it growing? Is it diminishing?
Yeah, probably a little bit of everything, possibly. I still get back to the people, that person. So the recruitment side of stuff that I've done over the years, you're always looking at what drives a person, what's their passion.
Mm-hmm.
And in a lot of cases where we get in it for one reason, which similar to my story. And I lecture for the PGA's International Golf Institute for the last 10 years. So I come in as a featured speaker and go through their content that needs to be covered, which is very business oriented. But a lot of the time I'm sharing what my journey has been, that I've gone through, and some of the learnings that I've picked up over all that time. It's a great industry to be in. I'm very fortunate to be where I am now, with the family, the kids, and where I live, lifestyle, my health, the whole thing, compared to where if I stayed in the US, where I may have ended up. And who knows, it's a sliding doors type of thing. But I was, in 99, 2000, when that opportunity came up, it was very difficult. It was very scary to go out of my comfort zone. But what I see in the industry is now there's more opportunities with like franchise businesses like yourself, this ancillary types of support that's being brought in of specialists like myself. There's a lot of other consultants out there that have different specialties. Marketing, golf tourism, a lot of those aspects of golf weren't really on the radar 10 years ago, like they are now. And a lot of our golf pros are heading down that way. So it's really that person, what they really are passionate about, how they make a living. They need to come to the realization that, they're probably not going to make a living at it, because there's not that many that actually make a full living. Some do, but you don't want to be negative and say, oh, you're not going to make it, but have that plan B, and what would you like to do? And we've got some good golf pros that have played on tour for 20 years here, overseas, and they come back and they get into a management role and they love it and they do very well at it. They still need to have that business acumen, the people skills, the financial skills, how to manage people, all those types of things. And they can go anywhere and still be within golf. I think there's more opportunities are growing if someone really wants to get to it. At the course level, it's getting tougher because it's limited to what you may be able to do or be able to move up in rank. Where I was fortunate to be part of a big company, I was able to sort of go up the ladder from one role to the next because they, at different facilities. We don't have that opportunity so much here because each facility is separate. So how do you work your butt off one place and then you go somewhere else? There's not as many avenues possibly for people. But it's more positive. I'm a lot more positive about our industry now than I was 15 years ago.
So have a lot of the big golf management companies left Australian shores? Is that what I hear from what you've just sort of...
Yeah, well, there was the three main ones
so like
that are still... Troon's still here in a different capacity, different structure. Then they had, I think, 10 properties at their peak here. American Golf had 2, and then the company downsized, and pulled out of all their international facilities, and then Club Corp had 4. Mm-hmm. So we didn't have there wasn't one in Victoria, but there was one in Sydney, Gold Coast, Brisbane, and Port Douglas, and they've left as well. So those 2 have left. Troon have stayed. Troon's a different management model as well than the others. The others had ownership, management rights, where Troon is more of a management agreement in most cases where you pay for the expertise, but they don't necessarily own the property. They have a different relationship than the other ones. So there's some slight differences in that. But even within the American model, there used to be 2 or 3 big ones. Now there's 50 small ones. Yeah, right. Yeah, so there's ones that have 20 in a certain geographic area. American Golf might have 80 now instead of 330. So there's been a lot of changes. We do have a few management companies within Australia now, which has been great to see, that are Australian owners, golf pros. You got Golf Services Management, Ian Danny and them down in Victoria, and they've got one property up here at Parisian, St. Andrews Beach. Yep. So that they've done really well from what I could see. Growling Frog, Rosebud, used to be Rosebud something.
It's on the hill there. It's called Bayviews.
And Renfurley. Yeah, and Renfurley. So Ian's been great. We've been he's been great supporters of us over the years, and we try to give him as much attention. You got Club Links that was at Sandhurst for a while. They've got a couple of places in Collier Park and Moore Park in Sydney. So slightly different model than the others. So there are a few here. You just don't hear about them as much. They're not as in your face, I guess, as the others.
Now, getting back to what you do, so you're quite prolific in your writing about what's going on in the industry and different things that come past your vision, obviously, and that's what you do. One of the reasons why I picked up the phone and gave you a buzz and said, we should chat about this because it's in my line of sight too. It was the article that you wrote that appeared in the Professional Golfer, the PGA magazine. And it was around, maybe I'll leave it to you to describe to the listeners what that article was about. But it certainly, I felt it was an interesting topic that I would like to learn a little bit more about from your perspective as the writer of that article, and just have a chat about that, because I think it's got a lot to do with golf, not only now, but what golf is doing in the future, and how golf can, keep this, I guess, momentum of reinvention to keep its, place in the hearts and minds of the population current. So maybe you could give us an intro into what that article was all about.
Yeah, well, the article that you're referencing is in the Golf Industry Professional, the winter 2020. Just got my issue today. So, like I mentioned earlier, I have to have a good read to see if everything's in there that I put in there. But mainly it's marketing to millennials. Are we ready for the experiential economy is what we are coining. And I'll talk about that briefly in a second. But yeah, I'm a big industry watcher. A big part of that is the fact that I have to, I've got to find content, as we all do, to fill the website and the social media and newsletters and everything else that we're producing each week. So I'm watching what's happening around the world and finding things that are relevant, I'm looking at research papers that are coming out, different articles from different people. There's a whole host of information that's just flooding through, as we do now, through our news feeds. And and they ask me, well, I'm always looking at what's the future of our industry. Where are we heading? I'm looking for opportunity, I guess, as well, to get ahead of that curve and going, okay, if I can position there, that's going to be a business opportunity for me. But it's also an opportunity for me to stay. The work I do, some work with Golf Australia, with the golf managers and others. It's the information that I provide as part of my services, part of my IP, is what I've learned and what I'm seeing, what's happening out there. I'm not a statistics guy, but I'm just looking at general trends, and you're seeing it in different countries. So you got the European and England golf sort of what's happening there, which is very different. Asia is very different, where they're at in their path of being an industry, very much in infancy. What's happening here, what's happening in New Zealand, and in the US. And I always look at the US because they're such a competitive market. They're trialing due to mass and due to golf being a very popular sport with 16,000 golf facilities there. You see a lot of that. We tend to pick that up 5 to 10 years later, here in some places even longer. Other places are at the forefront and they're picking up on things sooner. So we're starting to see the front edge of a lot of this change, a lot of diversification of offering. And then, in the case of this article, having to do with a different demographic, getting away from the 60, 70-year-old golfer that wants to come for a competition, but how are we communicating to a younger generation when they're digesting their information and news very differently. Experience is important, and not just playing golf, but what happens before they get there, when they arrive, to when they're there and after. And a lot of what the hotel industry does, it's very, very much a journey map. And we want to make sure that everything's happening is people are having a good time all along the way. You can have one part of that journey not go well, and these people are not going to be happy. And it's very different. And it's we have a point now where it used to be, if you had one bad experience, they told 10 people. Now it's one bad experience, you can tell 10,000 people, or however many followers you have, as it's happening. So it's a lot of things are a lot more real time. So even the psyche of the person coming is very different. It's different needs. So how, as a marketing, which is very operational focus, how do we adapt our operation to welcome people, to connect with them in a digital way? And a lot of what's happening with COVID-19 right now it has accelerated it. So it's actually always trying to find the positive in the crisis, and these bad things are happening. We do have some change that's going to be coming through due to it, just through legislation mandating that we have to do it now. I can see the country not having cash, like a lot of clubs just going cashless now. Yeah. Like, why do you need it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's just those types of things. So are we ready as a club? A lot of this was just to get some of these managers thinking about, well, they're bound by constitution, they're bound by governance and committee structures, which is my background has always been commercial. So it's been, you talk to a boss and they give you guidance and you go ahead and do it. You can make a change very quickly. But when you're dealing with boards and that, it can be very difficult, especially big decisions and big structural changes. And that's the stuff I thrive on, is working with facilities where I can go in and make huge changes, and they come out the other end in a much better position and be sustainable, for the distant future.
Is there an example of a club that you're able to share that you've been in and made some of those huge changes and, change the dynamic of that traditional committee model? Because that's all I've ever been familiar with in terms of a club environment. And, I'm a member of a fairly big club in Melbourne here now, and everything is dictated by a board and a committee and the subcommittees and so on and so forth. And, I don't really go too deep into that, other than my mate's the president, but, we've been mates far longer than he's been the president. But sure. I don't really get into all of the committee part of it, and I just, steer clear and observe. And that's not because I don't want to contribute, but I just contribute in a different way. But, those change, I see a lot of that progress for the millennials in particular being hamstrung by traditional committees. Yeah. And that traditional committee needing to be challenged and broken down, or have a reorientation of their thinking and the way that they approach the business, and I think personally, whether you're a high-end operation, and everyone, all my listeners know I'm a member at Peninsula Kingswood, but I get to play at, your Metros and your Royals and all of that sort of thing. But I think whether you're at a high-end operation or you go down the road to my friends at Mornington Golf Club, where I still frequent and still love those guys down there, different vibe, different atmosphere, different club. I think all of these committees need to sort of adapt their thinking. Have you got any examples of committees that have been able to adapt?
Yeah. Yes. Yes and no. You got me thinking. I guess in the bigger picture, we had a conversation. There was a group conversation at the New Zealand Golf Managers Conference last year, year before, in Queenstown, and it had to talk about where the problems lie and how change happens. And it does come down to the board and the governance. And I'm a big one on culture. So a vision and culture of a facility. So first thing I ever do when I work with the property is I want to know what their vision is, because that's the guiding light. These golf clubs are not the McDonald's. They're not cookie cutter. No. They're very unique, and they're about members, and the members are very unique in itself. And that's a special thing about true clubdom. And where you're at, that's a true club. I mean, there is tradition, there's ways you get in, and the way it's been modeled and customs and such over a long period of time to evolve. And it's a long journey. And you don't go and change and become a public course all of a sudden. It's a long term. Yeah. The better clubs, the ones that have done really well, like National comes to mind. Yeah. National is such a special property. And they're looking 40, 50, 100 years or more in the future. Yeah. When a lot of the middle-sized clubs that we tend to see are looking 2 or 3 years. You always hear about a 3-year strategic plan. It's like, well, that's not long enough to impart change. Yep. And the challenge is is in that governance model, how long a board or president can stay on. A lot of places turn every year or 2 years. That's not enough time. I've always seen for proper cultural change, which is where these big things happen. You're looking at least 12 months to make, just as a manager, to come in, just get a lay of the land. Second year, you start turning the ship, and year 3 onward, you can start making some big inroads. The one that came to mind, the ones that have done really big change have been, unfortunately, they're all public run management. Yeah. And the one I'm trying to think of on the way to the Bellarine, they changed the range. The course, it used to be owned by a golf course, and then
Curlewis.
Curlewis. That's been a great example in the Victorian market. Mm-hmm. Even Yarra Bend is probably one that's that same thing. I don't think they're traditional modeled. Yeah. But all the big ones, we have Parkwood, Moore Park, Wembley, and I'm missing Victoria Park. There's a few, but they've all been more commercially focused and changed. It hasn't been through a board. Marucci River has gone through some big changes because they've got the financing, and that's the other obstacle for a lot of these clubs, is that they haven't planned long enough to put money in reserve to where when they need the money to make the big change, they don't have the funds to do it. And that's where an external could come in and really shift it around and put some money in, like at Curlewis, for example, and make those hard decisions, and not always positive with the members. To do it. National, the one that comes to mind. I mean, they've just been really smart with long-term planning. Yeah, haven't veered off much of where they've been, and that's what's great about clubs. A proper club is that it's continuity. Members get used to it and enjoy it and stay for a long time because it's something that you can be reliant on. And this is where the challenge of marketing to millennials and changing some of the offerings for your long-term members to somebody that's maybe want that little surf cart or a single buggy, or want to move to online scorecards, or booking on. I mean, going back a few years when T-sheets went online. I mean, I don't know if you remember that. Yeah. How tough that was for a lot of people. Had a real struggle with it, using automated scorecards. I mean, we've had the change happening, and it's very difficult. Nothing big, but it's education and long process to get the board buy-in, and then you got to get your members in, to buy in as well.
So with the millennials that we're talking about now, chat the other day on the phone, I said that I see a lot of new golfers of that millennial and just past that millennial age demographic come in, and bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, can't wait to get into golf. What do you see as the keys to making a golf club experience attractive to be able to sustain and retain guys and girls like millennials,
Yep.
and more importantly girls, and that's another whole topic, but
it's a big shift that we're in the early stages of. I mean, the whole Vision 2025
Yep.
that Golf Australia has been, I mean, everything's going to get backtracked a little bit because we, not as much resource on the ground, and a lot of clubs are dealing with their own issues at the moment.
Yep.
Everybody's every state's different. That's the frustrating thing. Every state's managing it differently at the moment. I've always been a big one on a pathway. So as a golf pro, we're there, or a coach or whatever, anybody, even what I call a ambassador or a champion. To use American terminology, as a championing of it. Over the years ago, I used to always ask, how did you get into the game? So how did you get into the game, Ross? What was your introduction?
My introduction was my dad.
Yep.
My dad immigrated from Scotland, and he played golf in Scotland, and he came out here to play soccer, and he found the golf club as an alternate form of sport. My mum hated him. My mum hated him playing golf. My mum hated his golf magazines, but she loved when I got to go to the golf course with him because it gave her a break. So that was my introduction to golf. My mum, God bless her, she ended up falling in love with golf as well, so we were a golfing family. But
Brilliant.
That was my introduction.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. We have all the you go back and I've asked that question at a lot of different workshops over the years to club captains and general golfers and managers and everything else, and just go around the room. How many, who did you learn from? And this is not a scientific survey by any means, but it was 80-90% of them said exactly what you did. I learned from a cousin.
Mm-hmm.
You learned from a dad. It was always a family member, a grandfather taking the kids. We've got these programs as the tool to get them more engaged in it, but we also have to look at how they get introduced. And so that path, think about a pathway. So if people come to the course, how do they find out? How are they welcomed? What programs do we have for that starting point for someone that's never taken the game up? And I've had an analogy from this probably 25 years ago. I wanted to take Taekwondo, and I just was scared to drive by this place all the time, and I kept looking at it, and one day I'll go in there. And I finally got the courage to pull over, park, and go in and go to ask some questions about it. Walk in, there's all these kids, warming up and everything. A lot of the young kids, and I was way out of my comfort zone walking into it. And then I went to grab a flyer and walk out, and then the sensei came out and it put me at ease. I felt it was okay for me to be there.
Mm-hmm.
So I always use that as an example of when someone new comes into your facility, what's that experience like when they walk in? And that goes for millennials to young kids to older kids to old men, women. Yeah. What's that initial experience? Do we feel comfortable coming into place? So that's the starting point. So that golf pro, that receptionist or whoever's that first point of contact is really critical. So they come in and they ask that question, or someone calls in. They're not here, or hell, let me grab your name, I'll send you something, or what's on your website. So it's a starting point to getting them. Then you work your way through, look at all the stages, and a lot of our golf programs don't have a entry to golf to actually go play the game. It's at least in my era, it was, let's do 6 lessons and then hopefully get them for another 6 lessons and another 6 lessons. We were part of the Nike Golf Learning Centers back in the 90s with American Golf. And we trialed the name just Nike as a learning center versus American Golf Learning Center. And we had 3 to 1 sign up.
Yeah.
2 to 3 times the price. Just because Nike was on there, it was cool and people knew what it was. And that was a journey. But our 6th lesson was always on the golf course.
Mm.
So, and I see Sandy Jameson's doing some great stuff down with his one club down there. I just one of these days have a chance to talk to him about it. I love it. That's what we need, more of those types of pros that just have a passion. That's the champion. That's the passion. He just wants more people playing golf, and I'm the same. I just want people to be within this, not even just playing it, but working within it. It's such a good environment to work in.
I'm lucky. I need to go down and see Sandy, and I've spoken to him a number of times about it, and just to check in how he's going. And it's a great concept, and just to have one club turn up, go out and play the game and just play. It's a perfect place for it. That little spot in Oakley there with majority par 3s. It's just perfect. And I think when I think about the use of the land and the use of the the golf courses, that type of concept, whether it's an existing course or whether it's at a public course, has got so much scope just to be able to allow people to come on and have fun.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I when I see in my mind's eye, when I think about that vision in my mind's eye, you know, I almost see people in bare feet.
Yeah.
In some respects, you know, and that's a sort of relaxed sort of atmosphere that I have in my mind's eye.
Yeah, if you saw outside of my beard, you know, I keep saying it's a very different look for me. I've got 3 more weeks till the kids are in school, until I shave when they're back in. But you know, I would have been one of the last person you think it would take up the game. I mean, we were surfers. We were on holiday for a couple of weeks down near San Diego, camping, get up every morning and surf, and had the whole afternoon to do nothing, get in trouble, and then go surfing in the evening. That was on the tides. And you know, my cousin goes, "Hey, let's go play golf." I'm like, oh, "What's that?" I grew up in an area where you didn't have a lot of green grass. I mean, it was very metropolitan city. And oh, okay, yeah, can we drink some beer? And I was like 16. Yeah, we drink beer. Yeah, we'll drink some beer. I'm like, cool. And so went out and played, and just we hacked it around, turning carts over. I mean, just doing the stuff that you just cringe now. And then I look back and I go, God, that's how I started. And you know, and I've moved up into, you know, working overseas in this very traditional sport. And I've got this whole thing of being, I want one foot on tradition, but I also want one foot in innovation and future, and a little bit of rebellion. That's just my personality. I just don't want status quo. I want to keep challenging, you know, and I just feel like that maybe is my role a little bit in the industry here, is I just want to challenge. I want to get information in front of people to question what they're doing. And if people come back 5 years later and go, "Oh, cool, I read that article you posted 5 years ago and we did something different and it helped us do something different." Right. I've done my job. I just want the game to prosper. Now as I get later in my career, you know, that's I'm more educational based now than anything else, than operations. But you know, that's we don't. But there's a lot of capacity on golf courses. Maybe not at the moment for some of the states. You know, they're very busy with COVID-19 and of course the facilities that are states that are open.
Yeah. Just
for the fact that they're playing twosomes, so their capacity is really cut in half. But people are playing from 6:30 in the morning till 3 o'clock, you know, teeing off. There's not a lot of room for non-members at most courses at the moment, up this way anyways. So it's a real challenge. Hopefully we won't see people disengaging with the game because they can't get out. Yeah, and it's just, you know, we want people playing. We want the afternoons, there's capacity at most courses to get somebody out, be it school kids or, you know, beginners. So it's a pathway. To finish off on that one, it's all about pathway. So make sure you have programs that get them on the course. Once you hook a person on that first hit, the ball flying in the air, getting out of the bunker, making a putt, just those things. You can see it in your face right now. It's sort of like, you know, you just go, you know, that best feeling. Once you get someone to do that a couple times, they're hooked. Yeah. And that's what we want. But what do? We say you have to generally dress like this. You have to have these clubs. You can't do this, can't do that. This many rules, blah, 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 blah. And people just go, well, that's too hard. I want to enjoy it. And we're starting to see that changing with some of these courses now. We have changed their culture, changed to be more accepting to younger, younger players that have come in different dress, speak different language to some degree. They interact differently. They want to compete against their friends. They don't want to play in a competition with 200 people. They want to play in a group of 4.
They've got visible
and play within the 4. So that's a big dynamic that, you know, that's just what people want, you know.
And they've got visible tattoos.
Yeah, yeah. That was even for me. I you know, from my upbringing, you know, a lot of friends with tattoos, so I don't have any issues with them. But coming here, Australia has always been a lot more open with that, with a lot of hospitality. You know, I've never used to see it in the States, you know, before, or, you know, years ago, where, you know, a lot more tattoos and earrings and, you know, airline waitresses and stewardesses and everything else. Yeah, you sort of go, now who cares? We never really cared, but it was just different. You know?
But it's interesting because you're right. You know, you see police with visible tattoos, you know, arm sleeves and whatever, but it's still at a number of golf courses, you know, they have tattoo policies.
Yep.
You know, no tattoo policies, or, you know, 1 or 2 tattoos are okay, which whatever that means.
And I when you start really breaking down clubs and yeah, even though I came through the commercial side of the business where I said everybody was green. I didn't care who they were. Green was they had money.
Yeah.
So I didn't really care who they were.
Yeah.
As long as they respected our rules,
Yeah.
whatever rules we had in place and safety. But when you spend time at these really traditional clubs and you go, you know what, I don't have an issue with that. If they're performing well, if the club's doing well, they've got a good financial stability, they've got a good membership base, whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
that's who they are.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to Royal Melbourne, that's who they are, and that's fine.
Yep.
It's the ones that are in the middle and they're not sure who they are, and they impose some of these somewhat archaic type of rules that are actually impacting them and actually hurting them. Having to still have a jacket in the clubhouse for dinner or whatever it might be, or no phones. I mean, look at people now and you go, well, that pair of jeans is actually it's a $200 pair of jeans, or it's a doctor that has to be on call, so I'm not going to tell him not to have his phone. What's the big deal?
Yeah.
So it really gets back to that club again, what their vision, who they want to be, what they're about, what's important to them, what's their values. And if that's what they want to be, then go for it. That may not be for me. I still respect it that when I go to those facilities, I still going to respect it. But if I was going to join as a member somewhere, then it's that club that I'm going to find that resonates with me and fills what I'm missing. It might just be the golf course, but it's also about the social aspect. And that's why I see club as too many people are members of clubs just because of the golf course, and it's really more about everything else that comes with it. The people and those relationships you have and the community you have within that environment.
It's so important.
And we're losing that. We've lost that at a lot of places now.
So with the millennials again, and where do you think, if you're dealing with the clubs, sorry, I'll get to the point. If you're dealing with clubs and helping clubs grow, as we've just discussed, but then there's all of this other avenues for golf to come into play and into the vision of people, vis-a-vis Top Golf, vis-a-vis Big Swing Golf and entertainment venues like that. So they're trying to create this entertainment experience. What do you see as their role in facilitating the growth of golf and introducing more people, boys, girls, families to the game?
Oh, I think it's very important. I mean, marketing 101 is, is awareness. People even know what it is. And I can't find my article. I would have sent it through to you. When I did a website change a few years ago, I lost a few of my, what I call mic space, some of my blogging that I've done over the years. And it was around, our people that play Wii golf considered golfers, and just went through the pros and cons and try to get some conversation around it. And a few people contacted me and said, oh yeah, they're not golfers, blah, blah, blah. And other ones going, well, yeah, it is. I mean, they probably know more about the game playing it digitally than they know that a lot of our people that play it, for real. They know what a club looks like and they know how to hit it, what a 7-iron and all that. A big part of them is they understand how the game's played and the rules and how to take score, all those types of things that we take for granted as golfers. Now the big challenge is getting them to move from a virtual golf to an actual driving range or to a golf club. We've got it up here with Top Golf. It's only 10 minutes away from where I live. Not that I'm aware of there's any relationships between any of Top Golf and the local golf facilities as a pathway. And I understand that Top Golf's in their own business and it's not about pushing people away from their venues. So I can understand that's probably the case on it. But they're an entertainment venue for events and big functions and such. But those people that would never have tried the game are actually now in an environment where they feel comfortable trying it. My wife's tried it. Yeah. Only 2 times she's ever tried a hitting golf ball. Once when she took me on a date to a very private someone's house that had a golf course on it. She had a few swings out there, and that was 20 years ago. And then 6 months ago at Top Golf, and she goes, "Oh, I'll have a hit. This looks fun." Really? So my kid, and you just see the look on people's faces when you looked at how the structure of the place is, and we've got a couple good examples here. A club facility that I've worked with over the years at Parkwood Village, and the stuff they're doing there is it's referenced in the article. They have Top Golf Suite, virtual golf in there, miniature golf, 18-hole golf course, weddings, functions, TAB, pub, and the Titans football practice off on one side of their property. it's as diversified of a venue that you can get, and it just shows you the changes, and that's a good model to say that was very traditionally run for a long time, and then it was taken over by private owners, and they've made the changes. It wasn't very easy for them to make the changes, but now everybody's going, wow, like this is such a good venue, great service. The missing ingredients, the service side of it at most places, a lot of places.
So I'll just back over that. So I was aware that they had the Top Golf swing suites up there. So they've got 6 or 7, however many full swing golf simulators in there. One of my staff members was up part of the team that installed those simulators. Just by the by. But so they've got Top Golf swing suites, but that's part of the Parkwood, and there's the golf course, mini golf, and then the bar and the TAB. Yep, get that. And then over on one side they've got an NRL team training.
Well, there's an actual commercial precinct on the property. So it was a single property that they were able to get approval to change zoning. And there's a hotel and a retirement center possibly coming in. I mean, the pro that's looked after that's just done an amazing job on it. Just really big lateral thinker, just big vision of where things could go. And he's had some good opportunities come at the right time. But yeah, there's 10 commercial precincts, tenants paying money. There's a bounce trampoline center, there's a pool, the Titans gymnasium, a big medical center. Yeah, and they're all coming through, drinking coffee, having their lunches. All the golfers are coming through, and they're all cohabitating. They're all the big shift of members being upset that non-members are coming in is just gone. It's just not there anymore.
Because
so different.
There's money, and the money's reinvested into keeping the golf course great and the other facilities.
They spent a couple million on irrigation, and it's not the most amazing golf course in the world, but you know what? It's a fun little track. One of my early lessons was the first course I worked at was just a little crap hole place and little council course, and I said, why is everybody here? It was always busy. Like, why is everybody just hanging out? And they said this is their Augusta.
Yeah.
In their eyes, it's rose-colored glasses. They're looking, going, I get treated well here. It fits into my budget. It fulfills their need for what they're after. Like all of us as consumers, we fulfill their need. You're going to pay for it. And they just had a brilliant time. Same there. It's just they go in and they're smiling. They're having a great. Well, we're until a month and a half ago. Yeah. We're just under very different times now. But it's just been good to see the evolution over the 5-6 years from when it started to now. Just to be, just seeing things as they change and making some input to it as they've done it. But if you get a chance, if you do get up here, that's a great one. Just to see the diversification. Other clubs are going to be clubs. So Royal Queensland, the Royal Melbournes, the real private clubs. You know what? They'll do it really well. It's the ones in the middle don't really. They don't always understand what their purpose are. They want to be this, but they don't have the money to be that.
That customer experience part that you mentioned there as being so essential, and I think sometimes as a consumer it goes unnoticed in some respects. You just expect that the service level it's the golf club, so that's what to expect, and the dynamic is changing, as you said. But I remember, if I go back to my career at Mercedes-Benz, we had a distinct period where we had to really change the culture of a Mercedes-Benz dealer from being, you have to earn the right to come into this business, and then I will serve you, and that sort of, I guess, perceived level of arrogance that came with that entitled position, because hey, we're the ones selling you a Mercedes-Benz, so you better be up to the task of being able to afford one before you come in here, and we really had to put a program in place where we changed the whole culture, where a Mercedes-Benz was for everyone. And when you come here, whether you buy a car or not, you're going to have a warm and welcoming experience, whether you sit down and have a coffee, whether we wash your car, whether we do all of these other things. And that's 10 or 15 years ago. And no wonder that they're selling a stack of cars. But that whole customer service experience, when people came in and they felt like they were just there to have a great time, just made so much of a difference. And when you said that's my Augusta, I still love going down to Mornington. I haven't been a member at Mornington for 10 years. Yeah. Still got friends down there. I still go down there and I enjoy that place.
Craig and the team there has done a stand-up. They've been nailing. I mean, then just some of the initiatives are coming out. I've known him for several years. He's always sending me updates of what they're doing down there, some of the whole changes, and you can see that it's a club on the move and change.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not as fast as everybody will like it to do, but that's part of club and culture. You don't want to, in committees, you don't change too fast.
Yep.
Unless you have to. So they're making some slow. If you can make slow, gradual improvements every day, every few weeks, that's all you got to do.
You make a better
wait
product,
and then try to make a big impact. You just do a little bit every day. Just every day you come in, just try to make it a little bit better. Because it is about being customer centric and not brand centric.
Yep.
So doing that with Mercedes is all about that's a brand exercise. It's going, wow, these people are good and they're not stuck up, and like, why would I want to buy a Mercedes if they don't even talk to me? That means it sends a different message. I used to take my son to go to the Lamborghini place in Southport here. And you walk in, he's like 8, 9, 10 years old looking at Lamborghinis, and you go, one day I'm going to have one of those. And the people there knew that. They knew that. Well, maybe he doesn't, but have 100 kids come through, you might get one that's going to buy a Lamborghini at some point in the future because they dream about it, and that's their vision, their personal vision of what they want to strive for. And getting back on your, some of your staff, and I really look at that. Those are the questions I ask when I'm hiring. Is, well, what you look for those intrinsic things that drive somebody, and if they want to, are they just looking for a job, or are they looking to be in the industry for their life, and they love the game, and they want people to be happy, and it's you get someone that's like that, you can teach them you can teach them the technical parts of it. You can't teach someone to be a nice person. They're going to be not very nice, or not smile, and and not be happy in their job because it's not fulfilling them.
Mike, that was great discussion. Thank you very much. What are some of the other articles that you have written that stand out for you, that have created some level of whether it be controversy, whether it be discussion? What are some of the other topics that you've been involved with over the journey that raised the bar, raised some eyebrows, whatever way you look at it?
Yeah, one I've always had a lot of good feedback, and it's sort of sad. The last couple of years, I haven't been in a writing frame of mind for some reason. I just haven't had the headspace to sit down and write. Where earlier on I probably did, because I was still building my business, and it's something I do miss. But the one that's probably stood out is the role of the board, in governance, and it resonated a lot with the general managers, because a lot of and it's probably not as much of an issue now, but the getting back to that governance thing was, the board in a lot of ways were trying to be operational, and they were overstepping what the general manager is there for, when the board needs to be strategic and set direction. And just due to how clubs became clubs and committees run for so long, clubs always, a lot of our industry runs on volunteers, and it's great. I mean, I've really got a lot of respect for that. I really, over the years, understood their role now. But when it comes to committees and that, if they do have a person in charge that's running the day-to-day, that professional, be it the general manager or secretary manager, they're the one that's employed to run the day-to-day and understand how food and beverage works and all that. When the board shouldn't be getting too involved with margins and a lot of those little things that or report or directly advising the staff on what they should be doing. It should always, I say it as an hourglass shape, the top being board setting strategy, the neck of it being the manager to take that advice and what they should be doing, and then they push it down to the front line, whoever that might be. And that was the one that got a lot at that time anyway. So there was a lot of feedback because they were just feeling hamstrung. We see too many of our managers get pushed out by boards because they just don't let them do what they're supposed to be doing, or they'll blame it on them when it's out of their control. It's a shame, but we still see it at some places.
Is that article still on your website?
Yeah, it should be.
Okay, cool.
Somewhere, yeah. Just the role of, it's in the Mike's Space section.
Okay, I might put the link to that section in the show notes there if anyone wants to look at some of those articles, that they can go and drag that up.
And I guess the other one quickly was the around how to make your facilities more women friendly. So I know I had a lot of just little things that we do to make it more women friendly with just the way the tees are set up and the competitions, and having a dressing room that's private, and looking through the consumer's eyes.
Mm-hmm.
So be it the female consumer, woman consumer, or a junior or an older person. And that's the challenge. We've got 4 demographics happening out at the moment. So, we've only had one product for a long time, trying to make 4 demographics happy. We need to be able to talk to those people differently.
I think, at a very basic level, I think the move to tees being just
Gender neutral,
forward tees, middle tees and back tees, play whatever tees you want, guys, girls, off you go.
Well, we've got it now. I mean, it's interesting because those are the things that were in American golf in the late 90s we were doing already. We went to gender neutral. We got rid of women's tees. Because us as guys, just for our whole life, red tees or ladies' tees. We just won't play them. Most of us won't. So if we just got rid of set up a different color scheme, it's and they're slope rated, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
And even playing men and women on the same day in the same comp, who really cares? I mean, it's just we've got technology to help us do that, and that's you're starting to see that. I mean, it's funny because some people are going, "Oh, well, we're championing the cause, and we're leaders on it." Well, there's a lot of clubs have been doing it for as long as so good for them. I'm glad they have. But for a lot, it's a new change, and you're seeing some cultural change with some of these board members. And luckily, a lot of these board members that were 40 years old 20 years ago, now we're on boards, and they've got a different outlook. If you got on a board, you'll have a different perspective on things than your older counterparts from 20, 30 years ago. It's just how it works. So it's good to have a blend of on your board if you can handpick somehow. It's not always the case, but try to get a good mix. We want more female. We should have a junior on a junior committee, for example. And do we? A lot of places don't.
Yeah.
But we're making decisions on their behalf.
Yeah.
So, but no, I'm positive because things have moved forward a lot. In those 20 years, but we're still a long way to go.
Do you think that the vision was a Vision 2025? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think that's moving fast enough in relation to being able to open up the game and make it more attractive to the female demographic? Are we doing enough, or are we doing it quick enough?
Yeah, well, I mean, you got to remember Golf Australia's role and what they can advise, and they can recommend what the rest of the industry and should do.
Shiloh Curtis does it as an unbelievable speaker.
Yeah, and it's like the message has gotten out.
Yeah,
and the ones that resonate, the ones that haven't heard it before, the ones that it really resonated with, they had a champion. They had someone on that heard that was at one of those road shows over last year. Took it on board, and it resonated enough for them to push and lobby for change. And you'll see that change is now happening. Now, it'll take time for it to flow through. Other places will just say, nah, that's not us. We don't want it. We don't want people telling us what to do, blah, blah, blah. And, it's just not the right cultural time for them. But it's their domain. It's their decision where they want to go with it. Are they going to survive or not? I mean, down the line, maybe there'll be another board change in 1 to 3 years. So maybe someone in that one will change it. Change takes time, like that, in that big cultural change like that. And we see a lot of changes happening in the GA structure. But now we've got a lot of bigger issues to deal with at the moment.
Yeah,
a lot of change happening through GA. Just with the one golf, and that's a cultural change that will take a couple of years. It doesn't happen overnight because you've got to lobby, you've got to consult, you've got to do it the right way so everybody's part of the journey. This journey started 5, 6, 7 years ago. In participation, and was part of some workshops years ago on all that, and getting people to work My Golf and all those ones. Just the work that had to be done to get My Golf to be the national brand was it took a long time. We're still not there. There's still a ways to go, but it's there. The structure's there. They're making, some states are doing really well. They're bringing a lot of new kids in. But in the end, it's a club's business, and they need to make the decisions to take anything on, and they need to live and die by the decisions they make, and grow the business. Try to find a good champion at your facility. The best places. We'll use Sandy as Sandy Jamieson again as an example. I mean, if he wasn't there, it wouldn't be happening. Yeah. So same thing needs to happen. You get into a club that has a good junior program. There's somebody behind it that has a passion for toward getting kids into the game or girls into the game or whatever it is. So we got to find those champions at each of the courses and drive change at that level. That's the only way it will really happen, unless it's legislatively changed. But even then, it doesn't always happen.
Last question, I'll let you go. But obviously, this is a podcast, and if you search on iTunes golf podcasts, you will see 500,015 of them pop up.
Yeah.
And but it's a form of new media, and
yeah.
I've seen maybe several pop up in the last month, obviously because people have got time, they're at home, they've always wanted to, haven't been able to, and are now going to start their podcast, which is great. What do you feel is the role of new media in the promotion of golf? Is it are all of these podcasts, or all of these Instagram accounts, or all of these blog, vlog, all of that sort of content, is that going to grow in the future, do you believe?
Yeah, well, I think it is. I think we go into our own, like with anything with marketing, it's who's your audience and who you're talking to. Some people do it out of hobbies, and then hobbies turn into career. I mean, how to make money out of it's a whole different, whole different equation as well.
The no money, money being made here. No money here.
12 years, I'm trying to figure it out. I've had my own little blog, and I should have started a vlog maybe 2 years ago. My wife was on to me to start a video log, and I just wasn't ready. It's always a challenge putting your face up there versus just a voice, and even just putting a voice is a big thing. It just coming to terms with some confidence. And now the Zoom world we're in, it's a space I'm heading into more with webinars, and I've got a very broad network of topics that that I think will be relevant and contacts to do something. So watch that space over the next month or two. I think it will. I mean, we've seen it breaking down into I guess what you call tribes. I don't know if you've seen tribal marketing, where it's it's you're not trying to market to everybody. You want to find people that have like a club tribe has a good relationship together. They have common purpose, similar values, and you build that tribe. You get people and they're part of it. It's hard to get. You don't lose those people very easily. You have to do something really bad to lose somebody that's part of your tribe, because that's part of who you are. You've got an emotional attachment. As long as the content is relevant, and as long as the content is something they can't get anywhere else, you can own that space. But the challenge is it is a much busier highway. And at the PGA Expo last year, and he's going to be upset. I can't remember his name at the top of my head right now. He's down your way. He does he's the golf doctor, and he has a YouTube channel, and he's done very well. But he's been in for a few years and really worked it. And he presented. I was like, you should be up here presenting. Like, you've done it. You're doing it now in that YouTube space, which is very foreign space. But some of the basics are create something no one else has. They can't take that away from you, and be honest, and don't bullshit. Give people what they want, and make it entertaining, and make it fun. But it is a busier highway. Same with Facebook 5-6 years ago. Not many clubs were on Facebook, and now they are. And good luck now, because it's a very busy medium now. You got to pay to play. But is there a medium to get into before anybody else does? Well, maybe no traffic there. So it's I'm still big on marketing through newsletters and email, and people still like the old-fashioned medium, who your audience is. So ask your audience what they want to hear about, and you can see by your readership and who's listening and so forth.
I had the conversation with someone the other day who was, I guess, challenging the concept of the validity of email marketing. And I said, you know what, there's one thing that you own. If someone subscribes to your content, you own that. You don't own the person, but you own that. If
exactly right.
Instagram, Facebook, whatever crashes tomorrow or takes you offline or whatever, that's gone.
100%. It's the same thing. It depends on what you're trying to promote and who you're talking to. Most importantly, how do they digest their that information? I've never been a big podcast person. I've had friends that kept saying, "Oh, you do a podcast." I'm just like, I just don't really get it. Like, I just didn't. I don't know. Or when do I have time to do it? It's all those types of things, and it just didn't fit into what all this other stuff that I have. And now I've got time. I'm starting to look at different mediums and different ways to move forward in what I do, and how do I reinvent Golf Industry Central and make it a bit more fresher and modern. That's 12 years old. It's like, okay, well, people tired of looking at the same info, and so you're moving into different mediums and trying different things. But but they're hopefully loyal followers that want the newsletter every Thursday morning or afternoon when I send it out. And I really believe in consistency, trying to get people into their habits that they expect it there on a certain day and want to see it. And if they click a couple things, it's good, because I've got corporate partners that benefit from that, and hopefully that flows into getting some other work for me. But it's always ongoing and trying to reinvent things.
Look, in terms of podcasting, and don't please, this isn't me trying to tell you what to do, but if you have a tribe, which I believe you wouldn't do, people are going to want to value hearing from you. Hearing your words, hearing your voice in their ear and in their hearts, and I think that's what podcasting is being able to deliver to a number of people who follow, someone or something. They get to be a little bit closer than just the reading and the vlogging part also. And I get what you say about being on camera. I don't mind if someone sticks a camera in my face and they're asking me the questions. I can do that, no problems. But when it's me having to deliver the camera part of it, I just get a roadblock. But anyway, it is what it is, and I have to.
I love it. It's interesting because we're on video right now, but it won't be when it goes live. But I thrive on because I'll lecture, do presentations. I go overseas to do this. Hopefully once a year we get up to Asia to do something, take the family up and make it a family trip, and talk to some of our counterparts in the British PGA, or running golf courses in Thailand or Vietnam, and that's part of my tribe. A lot of them up there are watching what's happening down here. A lot of Aussie expats and a lot of Americans. So it's great. I feel honored. When someone recognizes me, I'm like, oh wow, how do you know who I am? And, I read your newsletter. Oh really? Wow. I just like, really? Yeah. It's like, wow, I'm just in a little office in the suburbs. You're reading what I'm saying. So I've got to, it's just interesting. It's exciting, and but writing's just gotten harder, just because I need to focus in and clear my mind and have a topic I want to write about. I try not to be too controversial one way or the other, because I'm not here to create problems for anybody. I've stepped on some toes here and there because I've pushed something through that I just felt needed to go out, and you sort of get slapped on the wrist, or you get a little bit of feedback. But at the same time, I just want to share as much of the good stuff that's happening. That we've got a lot of good stuff happening in our industry, and no one ever hears about it. It just doesn't have a platform, and so I want to give credit to the ones that I see and go, wow, that's cool. Like I'm really excited to hear about the different initiatives that someone's taking on, because it's a belief. They've got skin in the game. They're not getting paid by someone else. They're doing it because they believe in it enough that they'll fund themselves. And that's something I always look for is, I say you got skin in the game. You do this, and it fails, it's because of you. If it does well, it's because of you and everybody that's helped. And I'm not just doing it because someone's paying me to do it. I'm doing it because I love it. It's fun. Get to meet a lot of new people, and get to go to really exciting places, and that fits well into my personality. And that's what some of these younger people come to the industry need to look at. What excites them, and where do they really want to go, and what's their you can see people play for a while and they hit a wall, and they can't get any better, and they don't move up the rankings, and then they get into golf, do teaching, maybe not like teaching, then they find something that resonates, and and that's a great asset to our industry. And the more of those people we can get in, the better our industry is going to be. And the other ones will get filtered out. The ones that dead weight's going to get filtered out, and it just takes some time usually.
Mike, I'm conscious of your time. I really do appreciate it.
All good.
Where can people get hold of you if someone was listening to this and they think, you know what, that guy could help me with some of these ideas that I've got to take my place, my course, my business, my club to the next level? How do people get hold of you?
Yeah, just golfindustrycentral.com.au. You can drop a message in there, or Mike at golfindustrycentral.com.au, or Facebook, Mike Orloff, or LinkedIn.
Anyway, no problems. I'm sure that by the time they've listened to this,
just type my name in the Google
and you'll
bar.
find it.
I feel good because I've been on LinkedIn for a really long time before it sort of really took off here. But it's one of those mediums you still don't really know how it fully works, and each one. I'm not a Twitter person so much.
If you do Google you'll see the images of your son's beard, not the not the beard that I'm looking at now. Very good, very good. Well, I appreciate that, Mike. Thanks for joining us on the My Love of Golf podcast. I really do appreciate your insights, and maybe one day in the future when we can tee up again, maybe I can come up and tee it up with you up there on the Gold Coast. And we can have a chat if the occasion arises again about this great industry that we're both in and love. That's the game of golf.
Yeah. Anytime, Ross. And if I'm down your way, I'll connect with you and have a good chat over a beer.
Take you down to Peninsula Kingswood anytime, Mike. Thank you very much.
Sounds good.
All right, mate.
Thanks, Ross.